Hello my friends, Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa String Works workshop. We're in Studio M, the metalworking side. I have a very small welding project to do, and my friends at ArcCaptain have just sent me a solution for this. Let's see how well it works. It's a inverter welder, and this is a 110 or a 120 welder that you can plug in pretty much anywhere. Let's see, I don't know if it converts over to 220 or not, but we'll see what we've got here in the box, because I have not taken it out of the box yet. We've got looks like a spool of wire. We've got our ground clamp. We've got our stick welding clamp. The way I understand it, this is a scratch start TIG. It's also an arc welder and a wire feed welder. Looks like that's a cover for it. It was packed very well in this nice foam. I like this kind of spongy foam. It's heavy duty. It looks like they sent me a book here. So it looks like we've got some stickers and a user manual for this welder. Let me get the rest of this hooked up and put together, and we'll show you what it can do. This is a tiny little welder, and sometimes that's exactly what you need. Somebody working out of their garage, just a home that just needs to weld occasionally, this might be the perfect answer. I've got a small welding job, so this could just be the perfect answer for my particular job as well. Let's see what we've got going on here. I would prefer to do the wire feed if it came with the wire feed. Yep, it's got the wire feed stuff here. So we'll need that. We won't need the arc welding parts right now. So I'm going to set that aside. I think the wire feed would be my best choice from the application I have. Here's a wire brush. I guess that's a little hammer for, breaking your chips and things. Looks like it's pretty straightforward to me, so let's see what it takes. You never know, I might have to go to the user manual on this, but if we don't have to, we won't. I've used enough welders in my life that I think I know how a welder works, but maybe this one's unique, you never know. There's the ground. I'm putting the ground in the negative right now. That might be backwards for this MIG welding, I'm not really sure. I will double check that because I'm not positive. Sometimes you go negative ground, sometimes you go positive ground. So I'm not exactly sure how this one is designed and what I'm going to get into here. So I will check that out. It would be nice if it would say on here whether there's a positive or a negative. I don't see that, so I'm going to put it in the positive. At least I think I am. And then we'll connect up this connector right here. You can't hardly mess this up because it guides you in one way and you can't really do it another way. Actually, this might tell us right here whether we need it in the, anytime there's a 50-50, there's a 100% chance I'll get it wrong. And that's pretty much a black and white fact with me. It's been that way my whole life. This has to go up here because the wire feed comes out of the bottom. So there you go. That answered that question. It's got a very short lead on it. It's only about maybe 7 foot, six and a half foot, something like that. Maybe 2 meters, don't know for sure. That's about what the lead is. The ground looks to be just a little bit longer than that. Here's some tips for the welder. It came with some extra tips and things. It looks like it's got a tip installed already. Before I feed the wire through, I think I'm going to take this tip off. I think that's probably the best way to do it, but you never know. It might just feed through perfectly, and it probably would because it's got the right end on it. I'll leave it on there. We'll see how it goes. Just be another good test. See if we can figure out how to put the wire on. I will tell you about wire. You want to be careful because it'll spring off of here like crazy. You really want to be careful with your wire because it'll just ruin a whole spool in the heartbeat. just looking at the little directions they've got here, and it all makes sense. That's exactly how I would do it, I think. It's just feeding it off the bottom of the spool, which makes sense because that's where it needs to go. I'm going to try to make sure I get a hold of this wire. I imagine they've got it tied off again, but I'm going to get a hold of it anyway. Yep, it looks like they got it tied off right here. We're going to want to make it come off this direction, which is kind of unusual to put the label on the inside, but that's what they're showing. I'm going to hold on to this, and I'm going to put this back on and tighten this back down so that it doesn't start spinning on me. And now I'm going to cut the end of this off and see if I can't get it to feed into this loop here. Looks like it's going. And I'm going to close this back down. I'm going to plug it in. As careful as I can. I'm going to pull the trigger here. Well, I have to turn it on, I'm sure. Okay, I've got it turned on. I'm going to pull the trigger. It's pulling it. I'm going to wind this back up here because I'm afraid it's getting away from me. Well, quite honestly, one of those wires did slip around on the back side of the spool, so as careful as I thought I wasn't careful enough. I'm going to take the spool off temporarily here and get that wire back on the spool. All right, that's better. I got it back on. Yeah, you got to be careful. I got to be honest. These I'm not the expert on wire, but I can tell you for sure they'll get away from you in a hurry, so you want to be very careful with this wire. All right, so let me pull the trigger again, see if it'll feed. Yeah, it's feeding. All right, the other thing that you want to do is straighten out your lead here as much as possible. And I don't know if I can get straightened out enough and stay on camera, but I'm going to try. I'm just going to reach out here and pull the trigger. I've loosened it up a little bit. I think it was pulling too hard. Let's see if it comes out here. Maybe I ought to take that tip off just to be safe, because it might be binding up in there. You never know. I don't think it is, but I just feel safer doing it this way. Well, in fact, there it came out right then. So I think I timed it just right. There you can see it feeding out. So there you go. It's working perfectly. So far, everything's just fine. Haven't had to go to the user manual yet, but I might have to here in a minute, as soon as we get ready to start trying to weld with this thing. Well, I think we're pretty much set up. You saw it in real time. I didn't shorten the video or anything. It's in real time. Now let's look at the front here and see what we can tell about the user interface. We've got different modes here. It looks like it's in wire feed mode. I can see the little icon lit up, and this is the wire feed icon. It's got 035 wire, which I'm assuming is right. I didn't check it, but let's just check it. It says 0325 is what it says there, so I'm sure that's right. It looks like we're ready to weld. Let's see what this does. Does this turn up the... Well, oddly, when you turn to the left, looks like the numbers get bigger. I'll be honest, being colorblind, I'm having a tough time reading this. I gotta be honest. Maybe if I darkened it, I could see it better. It's at 130, 126. Okay, I think it's working. I just couldn't see it. I'm real colorblind, and the light on it, I can't see it very good. It goes up to 145, it looks like, is where it goes up to. I tell you, for this job I'm going to do, I'm going to leave it about 135 to start with. We'll try that. So here we go. Okay, here's what we're going to be welding. Can you see this little broken piece right here? It's broken right across there, and this is off of a trailer hitch. I'm just going to weld it up solid. If this little welder will do that, we're going to be in good shape. So here we go. Set the camera back a little ways because I don't want to burn the camera lens. Okay, and in general practice, I just want to say you probably shouldn't be welding on a trailer hitch. The reason I'm welding this trailer hitch is this is just for farm use only, and it never goes on the road. So I'm not too worried about this trailer hitch on terms of strength or anything like that. So let's see how well the little ArcCaptain can do. I've got it on 135 amps. Oh my gosh, I'm amazed already. I'm already surprised. That worked so much better than I thought it would. I gotta be honest. That worked great. That really worked great. Let me just show you the first two little quick welds there, just so you can see what I'm talking about. Let's see if the weld's held. I know it's gonna be hot, so I can't really touch it with my hands yet. There's what she looks like. Looks really good to me. That worked great. Let me take their little hammer here and tap the welds, see if there's any. Yeah, it's pretty clean. We'll turn it over and we'll weld the other side. I was gonna weld it solid, but now I'm thinking I may just do it like that because it's welding so perfectly. I didn't expect it to weld this well, to be honest. I thought it would be kind of a mess. Here, let me turn this around. Let me get at least one clamp back on it. I've got a shield down here for my legs, just so you know, because I'm in shorts and I also have tennis shoes on. Well, this shield keeps the sparks away from my legs and the tennis shoes. So now I need to get my gloves back on here. Actually, I didn't have one on the first one, but I like to weld with gloves on. I don't always do that, but it's good practice. So let's see if this baby will work on the other side. Oh, I like this. I really like this welder. I didn't think I would, I'll be honest. It looked kind of like a toy, but it's killer. I'm liking it a lot. There's what that second weld looks like before we clean it up. Let's tap the dross off of it there. I'll be honest, the wire brush and the little hammer, it's a little bit lightweight. This really don't amount to much, you know, but you're not buying it for this. Look at this. Look at how nice that welded. Can you see it there? That did a really nice job. Let's turn it over and clean up the other side and make sure the other side's welded well enough. I'm not sure the other side's is welded as well because it was the first one I did and I was a little bit surprised, to be honest with you. You know, I think it's good enough, but it won't hurt to put a little bit more on there and then we'll grind her back. All right, well that time, for whatever reason, maybe it's because I got it in the vise now instead of real close to the ground, that time it was bouncing on me. So that's a wire feed issue, but you know, that's not that big a deal. I'm sure I could slow the wire feed down if I needed to. I really like it so far. I kind of blobbed that one up a little bit, I'll be honest. That one's not as pretty, but it's good enough, you know, and now I can grind that all back and it'll look just fine. So let's go do the grinding. We're over here at my jet grinder, and this side is the coarse wheel, this is the fine wheel. So I typically use the coarse wheel most of the time. Well, that looks really good. Now, I was going to weld that hole shut, but because that welded so well, I think I'll just go ahead and re-drill the hole, because that's how you lock it. And we don't really need to lock it here on the farm, but in case we do, we'll have it. Okay, this is a kind of a odd-shaped, egg-shaped hole, so this drill might break. You just never know. Well, didn't do too bad. I'm going to call that good enough. Obviously, you can tell that's been messed with, obviously, but it filled the weld in really well. It did a good job welding that. My friends, I've got more projects going on than Carter's got liver pills. As you can see, I'm doing some timber framing. Well, right now, I've got a busted up brush hog, and I need to get it welded. And I'm not going to try to weld everything with the ArcCaptain welder, but here's a nice piece that I think would weld really well. It's right here. We're going to weld across there and across here too, across this face also. But we'll do one weld at a time. We'll do this first and see how well the ArcCaptain does on that. We're going to do the arc welding. You can see I've got the appropriate end on there. I've changed this over to the negative ground. Well, here we go. I've got my shield here because I'm welding in tennis shoes and shorts, and I know some of you are going to hate me for that, but that's okay. Just go ahead and hate me. That's just fine. It burned it no problem. In fact, I probably had it too high. I set it on 120 thinking, well, is that going to be too hot? Because on my Lincoln, that would be too hot. But I thought, well, maybe this would be different with this welder, you know. But honestly, 120's hot. So I'm going to turn it down to about 100 even, I think. There's 100. Let me get something and knock this weld off here and let you see how well it did that. It did it really well. You can see right there, it did a nice job. It melted it together really fine. I think I had it too hot though, so I'm going to turn it down a little bit. Like I said, I've got it down to 100. These are a little bigger rods, 6011. Let's see if we can run that. I don't know if it'll run that or not. Yeah, that ran that just fine. Much bigger rods, 6011. Well, I'm going to weld right in here now. This is broken through here. And let's see if this might be too hot. Might have to turn it down. Yep, it's too hot. I'm going to have to turn it down. Can you believe that? This little welder has to be turned down. I'm going to turn it down to 90. Trying to fill it in, and it's filling, but it's still hot. I'm going to turn it down to 85. There we go. I got her all filled back in where I burnt the hole in it. Weld this whole seam down through here. Well, it does a good job. I'm happy with that. I cannot believe that it does that well. You can see I'm not babying it. I'm welding heavy-duty stuff with it. And in fact, I'm having to turn it down. Well, I know somebody's not going to believe me when I say this, but I can weld better with this, I think, than I can with my Lincoln arc welder. This welds great. It's just awesome. Got a big crack across here. I'm going to weld that up. Well, my friends, I'm going to have to quit at this point because the smoke's getting kind of thick in here and I don't have an exhaust fan. So, and it's hot outside, so it's humid. But you can see there, it did a nice job. Let me get a wire brush and clean that off a little better. I'm not a great welder, but that's not bad. And it stuck really well. It burned right through. In fact, I burned a hole in it right there. I had to fix the hole. I want to tell you something. This ArcCaptain MIG145 Pro flux cord, lift TIG, and DC stick, it's the real deal. And you can plug it in anywhere and weld with it. You don't have to have 220. You can plug it in your living room and weld your TV if you want to. Oh my gosh. I am floored by the power of this thing.